What is up, everybody? I am here today for another look back, and today I'm actually going back again to Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne. However, I am looking at a version of the game that I have never played. In the 10 years that this game has been out, I have never played this version of the game, and this is the PS2 version. I've heard a lot of negative comments about this version. I am not entirely sure how this game plays, how it differs from the two other versions, which is the Xbox and the PC version. The PC version being the best version, and the Xbox roughly being the second best version. The PS2 version got panned by a lot of reviewers, and I have actually no clue why. Obviously, I've never played the game, so I have no clue why it was panned so bad. But we're about to find out today, what the differences are between this version and the other versions, the good things and the bad things about the game. I'll play about roughly 20-30 minutes into the gameplay to get a sense of what the game's like, and then we'll end it there. So yeah, let's get started with this as the game loads up. Okay. Let's do new game, do detective, and let's get started. Alrighty, problem number one is the loading times. Kind of slow compared to the Xbox version, which I actually just played recently. This is slow as hell. In fact, the PS2 version of Max Payne, the first one, was slow too, so this isn't necessarily a surprise. Okay. Slow. Slowly but surely. We are getting there. There we go.
God, I turned out to be such a damsel in distress.
They were all dead. Love kills.
Well,
Did I love her?
obviously we aren't at the gameplay yet, but sound-wise, as far as these cutscenes are concerned, the graphic novels, the sound is much better than what the PS2 version of the original Max Payne was. One of the problems with the PS2 version of Max Payne 1 was that it had some really sketchy sound for the graphic novels, particularly the music. The music kept cutting in and out, the voice work kept cutting in and out. That was my version of the game. I don't know whether other versions were doing the same thing, but it had a lot of technical problems with the cutscenes that were there. But this appears to be a little better. The sound is good, there's no cutting in and out with the music and the dialogue, so that's very good.
We're losing him. Multiple gunshot wounds. Pupils blown. Head trauma. God only knows what else. Shock. Start 2 large bore IVs. Get him to.
And I love this story for Max Payne 2. I think, if there was ever an award for best story written for video games, this definitely would have won it for that year, 2003. This was such a great story written by Sam Lake. And it's unfortunate that he didn't write for Max Payne 3. If I had to say anything negative about Max Payne 3, I've had a chance to play through the game entirely, and Max Payne 3 was actually really good. But the story just did not hold a candle to Sam Lake's work, and it was really unfortunate that he was unable to return for Max Payne 3, which, Max Payne 3 was developed by Rockstar, and Sam Lake, being a Remedy employee, obviously couldn't do it.
I was hallucinating. I had to get away.
You can kind of tell already that the textures for this game is not quite as good as the other two versions. However, the effects, they did seem to add a little more effects to it than the Xbox version. The Xbox version, one of the things that Rockstar did, and I hit my microphone, my apologies, one of the things that Rockstar did with the Xbox version was that they took out things that weren't needed to make it as close to the PC version as possible. Here, it seems like, they tried a little too hard, and they had to take away from things that, are needed. That are needed for the game, and, didn't necessarily take out things that, that weren't needed. It seems like they did the opposite for the PS2 version than what they did with the Xbox version, but, we're just starting, so I'm not going to harp on that yet.
What's going on?
Anyone there?
Max, about what happened.
I was fine.
Ooh, that little pause is horrible. I don't know whether you guys saw that horrible pause in between the cutscene and the gameplay. I do like the screen effect, though. You know, the little wavy effect that you get when Max is either dreaming and stuff. They eliminated that for the Xbox version. Again, trying to keep it graphically impressive for the Xbox, but, you know, the fact that they were able to keep it for the PS2 is rather impressive.
I wanted to dig inside my skull and scrape out the pain.
Trying to manipulate a few things here. There isn't quite as much, quite as many objects that you can manipulate in this version than you could than what you could in the Xbox and the PC version. Not necessarily the fault of the developers. They had to try to fit this game on the PS2, which is considered a less powerful console than that of the Xbox console, so it's understandable. And there's, I don't know whether you can tell, but the frame rate is awful in this game. It's constantly jumping. Cutscenes are a bit iffy too. They don't run as well as they did on the PC and the Xbox versions.
Freeze, NYPD! Found him.
Ooh, delay with the audio. That's another thing that should be noted. The delay with the audio when Max says freeze NYPD. And I know I'm mentioning a lot of screw-ups here. You know, I've played the PC and the Xbox version, which is why I'm able to kind of point out these screw-ups right away. And I just realized I'm kind of shouting into my microphone. Apologies, I don't really have to do that. I'm right up close to the microphone. This game is... the way it's running is really bothering me. You know, when the game sits still, it looks impressive. But when you start moving, you know, its frame rate and everything, you know, the problems that the game has really start to appear.
Their black van took me out of the city. The countryside was sickeningly pretty. The sun setting on a sweet summer day. Rains.
Trying to see if they kept these little Easter egg things the same, and they did. Kind of cool. If you really pay attention to the Easter eggs in the game, like these TV shows that appear, it constantly references the first Max Payne, and you actually see Sam Lake a few times in those Easter eggs, which is kind of cool. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how do we eat a painkiller here. There we go. The circle button is the painkiller. It should be noted that they reversed the shooting buttons. It's usually R2. That's a shooting button for the PS2. They switched it to R1 for some reason.
Payne!
You're not going anywhere. What happened out there? You did it. Internal affairs was breathing down my neck. Did you do it? You killed her.
No, I can't.
Graphically, you know, as far as character models go, when compared to the Xbox and PC, obviously the PC was the more impressive. You know, this is 2003, and the PC version of Max Payne 2 was considered, you know, cutting edge at the time, and it still looks good to this day, environment-wise. Character models in the PS2 version, a bit iffy, you know, they're not terrible. But, you know, I've seen way better on the PS2.
You can't run from your past. You'll end up running in circles.
And I don't know whether you can tell on your from what you guys see on the video as to what I'm seeing on the TV, but the lighting in this game is awful. It's actually darker than that of the Xbox and the PC version for some reason. I don't know why that is.
I had tried to run from it, edit it out. Winterson was dead. I was a murderer. A false start.
So far, from what I can tell,
It was past the point
with
of
this
no
game as
return.
compared to the other versions, so far, what I can tell, frame rate is horrible. I like the ambition. I like a lot of the stuff that they tried to keep from the PC version in the PS2. But one thing I mentioned earlier, that I mentioned already, is one of the smart things that Rockstar did with the Xbox version was they took out a lot of things to make the Xbox version run well on the Xbox, while also trying to keep it as close to the PC version as possible. With the PS2 version, you know, they take out a few things, but they don't take out the correct things to make it really work on the PS2 version. Like, a lot of the effects they try to keep in the PS2 version, obviously the PS2 cannot handle all of that. So the PS2 version is suffering from a lot of frame rate issues. Its screen, the lighting is darker than the other versions for some reason. The character model's not quite as sharp, but that's a small problem. Loading times between cutscenes and all that stuff is just a mess. So the game's not running quite as smoothly, but we'll see. We're going to get into a bit more of the gameplay now to see how this all affects the gameplay. And I'm really interested to see how that plays out. And this picture here, for years I had no clue, but I can't tell whether that's Mona standing there or Vlad. I can't tell. The shadow behind Max.
I had wanted to be punished for what I had done, but Alfred Woden had kept his word.
A lot of Max Payne fans did bring up that first line in this cutscene, you know, Max wanting to pay for what he's done, because obviously at the end of the first Max Payne, you know, Max talks about how Alfred Woden better keep his word to get him out of jail, and yet in this game Max wants to pay for what he's done. It's more of a cheap way to get the story rolling, you know. A lot of writers do that. They do that in movies all the time. Because if they were to keep, you know, the ending the same, you know, and Max's attitude the same from the first game, they really would have no story to go off of. So they wanted to keep Max as emotional as possible, as sad as possible. And the lighting in this cutscene is awful. And that car looks like shit. Max's character model doesn't look too bad in the PS2 version.
Possible hostage situation.
Now, you can kind of tell where they kind of
Going in.
got rid of some of the details on Max, like he's not as sharp looking as he looks in the other versions. But for the most part, you know, he could have looked way worse.
With no way to deal with the past, I kept my eyes on the road, off the rearview mirror and the roadkill behind me. I chased lesser mysteries, other people's crimes.
One thing that's kind of stunning is that they actually kept Max's jacket, the effect on his jacket from the PC version for the PS2 version. That's the way his jacket kind of waves around when he runs. They nixed that for the Xbox version. I love this Easter egg. The guy screaming like Max does at the beginning of the first Max Payne. Wait a minute. There we go. I was about to say I only picked up one painkiller there. Okay, we should be entering a cutscene. Yes.
NYPD.
Whoa, easy, officer, easy. Just cleaning the place. Come on, officer, it's all legit. I work for the Squeaky Cleaning Company.
You didn't hear anything suspicious just now?
No. Oh, wait. You mean the gun workshop?
The mouse moving is better than the Xbox version. I can say that for it.
Sure, officer.
Um,
If that's what you want. You know, officer, you cops got it easy. All you have to do is go to the crime scene and look around.
This kind of bugged me a bit about Max Payne 2, and I think I mentioned this in my previous look back when I looked back at the Xbox version of Max Payne 2, is these long-winded scenes that you have to go through in order to get to the gameplay. Like, you have to follow this guy to the door, and that kind of bugs.
After you.
Not sure what triggers the bullet time. I haven't tried the bullet time yet. Okay, L2 triggers bullet time. Okay, oh, I got stuck there for a bit. Not really a problem with the game, that was my fault. I just noticed that Ragnarok sign sitting there. Never really took the time to notice that before. Okay, let's see how the bullet time... Can't really get a good sense of what the bullet time does with that one. I gotta remember to jump when I do the bullet time. Okay. I think it was this door we can go in. Yep.
Kaufman's waiting at the van. The hardware's been bagged. As soon as the guys get Jackie Brown in there taken care of, we're done.
Okay. I'll round up the crew, make sure the cleanup's done. Bodies, blood, prints, hair.
There we go.
The room looked like gun storage, but it had been cleaned out.
Again, you know, some of the dialogue is taking a little too long to load up.
The answering machine had a message on it.
Let's see how this does. Oh, they got rid of the blinking light effect. Anyway, I don't know why. I like little effects that they kept for like the Xbox version when they ported these versions from the PC version. Like the Xbox version kept all of the little lighting effects. It got rid of like the lightning and all that stuff and the rain effects to really make it work. But they kept like the little things like the answering machine's blinking light. I don't know why. You know, it was just cool to see that. Those little details on, you know, these consoles. Okay, I think we got painkillers somewhere in here, don't we? We did. Let's see, let's look out the window, see how it looks. Wait a minute. Did they keep the rain effect for this game? They did! That's actually really impressive. Okay. We're about to enter another cutscene here. Let's see how this looks. Oh, I hate that! Hate that freeze in between the cutscenes and gameplay. That's driving me nuts.
I have no beef with you guys. You took them out. Listen, I work for Vladimir.
Honey, you work for no one.
Honestly, I really wish Remedy had really taken the time, you know, to... Or really Rockstar taking a better time to really port this for the PS2. This seems really rushed.
It started with the death of a woman. I couldn't save her.
Whoops.
How long can it take? They're not supposed to cuddle with her afterwards. We need to wrap this up. Kaufman wants
Okay. After that, now we're about to enter another cutscene. Or at least I think we're about to enter a cutscene. Oh, God, that was horrible. Introduction of Mona Sachs.
Mona?
Max, we gotta stop meeting.
There's like a...
Mona! If you think nothing can get to you, you're lying to yourself. At best, you're temporarily dead. A lightning bolt.
I'm really noticing with that cutscene with Mona Sachs how bad the colorization is in this game. And I think that's what's really causing, you know, this I think that's what's giving this game a really bad lighting look to it. Because the colorization is so off. They had to... It looks terrible.
Run for it.
I forget where I had to go here. I know it sounds like I'm doing a lot of complaining, but really when you have really two great ports to compare this to, and that being the Xbox and the PC versions, you know, it kind of really makes it easy to complain about this. Come on. Wait a minute. Am I missing something here? I thought there was more enemies. Kind of looks like they kind of skimped down the enemies a bit, kind of lowered them down from the other versions.
Max! You alright?
I'm okay, damn it.
Hey, we're working together on this.
You got sloppy, Payne. You screwed up. It's unacceptable that she's... You can do better.
I played it as business as usual. But everything had changed the moment those elevator doors
I don't know whether we should end it now or play one more level. The levels are actually fairly long in Max Payne 2, and I really don't want to go beyond 30 minutes with this.
Two, the Mafia.
You know what, the hell with it, we'll get a little bit into the next level, and end it during that.
Kaufman.
This one's evil. It has only started. I don't like it. I don't like it a bit.
But again, you know, I know it seems like I'm doing a lot of complaining about this version, but the Xbox version, the other console version, which was the Xbox, it was so good and was so close to the PC version, and the PS2 version is just nowhere near that good. It's like Rockstar, and I think I said this before, it's like they didn't do enough, you know, they didn't take away enough from the PC version to make this work on the PS2. It's like they got a little too ambitious with this version, tried to keep all the effects from the PC version, and it just scaled down the PS2 version, and it's giving it so many problems. Like the rain effects, they kept that in for some strange reason, and the rain effect, you know, only hurts the frame rate more. You know, the frame rate for this game is awful. And that's about it. You know, and I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But really, again, you know, two other great versions, which kind of makes the PS2 version look inferior, and it really is inferior to the other versions. And I'm not liking these loading times. I don't like staring at one screen for more than 20 seconds.
I needed to talk to Vlad, get his version. Be the bearer of bad news on Annie Finn. Vlad had bought
and really what's keeping me into the PS2 version right now is the story. I love Max Payne 2's story. And, you know, I really only play Max Payne 1 and 2 over and over again, mainly for the story. I go through the gameplay just so I can watch the cutscenes again. And that's what's keeping me kind of hooked onto this version of the game, despite how bad it is.
Vlad! Max! 911! Bad guys with big guns!
I love that line. Bad guys with big guns. Vlad is hilarious in this game, you know, before he gets revealed as the villain. He has some really
No time to call back up.
funny dialogue.
In case
Same with Vinny
everybody
Godniti
gets
in this game too.
I got in through the back door. Memories of
Wasn't
my
Max
previous
supposed to be in
visit
that last
lurk
shot?
shadows. A musty smell under the coat of new paint.
That's a horrible glitch, because Max was supposed to be walking in through that shot. Wasn't there. Oh, crap.
Someone was talking on the other line.
Let's see.
Nothing to worry about, baby. I'm going to be alright. When haven't I been alright? Max is here now. You know Max. I'll call you when it's
Vlad, shut up and stay alive. I'm coming. Vlad was a perfect gentleman, reassuring his girlfriend. Someone other than Annie.
I am noticing one thing here. I don't know whether anyone's noticed this or not. When Max gets shot, he seems to take less damage in this version than he did in the other two versions. With less enemies, overall than in the other versions. Like, they were able to add more enemies to each level. Like, in that last level, they lowered down. It was originally, I think, supposed to be 5 or 6 enemies you were supposed to face before you left the warehouse. They lowered it down to 3. So this game ends up being easier than the other two versions. It's kind of both a good thing and a bad thing.
Before he talks us all to death.
Let's ride.
They asked for you. Just follow
Shoot the TV just for the hell of it.
Jesus Christ, apocalypse now. Got some
Wait a minute.
shit here.
You can't manipulate the light? Manipulate the light?
Leave them now.
Ah.
Be on the lookout. The Russians are... They're here.
Oh, and I'm dead. Got a little too overzealous there. But, you know what? We'll end it there. With the look back on Max Payne 2 for the PS2. Overall, I hate to repeat myself, but it's just completely inferior to the Xbox version as far as the consoles go, and it's definitely nowhere near as good as the PC version. With Rockstar, they put so much effort into the Xbox version and made the Xbox version as good as they possibly could when compared to the PC version, and the Xbox version wound up becoming just as good. I shouldn't say just as good as the PC version, but almost just as good as the PC version. With this version, they didn't try hard enough. It was almost like they rushed through the PS2 version. Like they had no faith in this particular version at all. And it's kind of too bad, the textures are horrible, the lighting is horrible, the color palette is horrible on this game. Max's character model, if I had to say anything, looks okay. The character models in general look okay in the game. You can kind of tell where they skimped on the details a bit with the character models when compared to the other versions, but overall they look okay. The cutscenes are kept just as good. The bullet time, from what I can tell, looks okay. But overall, when it comes to versions that you could play of this game, stick to the PC version and the Xbox version. The PS2 version is just not all there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I know it seems like I'm rushing through these lookbacks now. I'm rushing through these episodes. I'm kind of busy lately, but I'm still getting a chance to play games that I love, and getting a chance to still do the show. But it's fun. I like doing this. But thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you next time.